The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
So good afternoon and welcome to this Trailblazers MSP Trailblazers webinar. So I see people are just logging in, so I'm going to give people a chance to log in, and we'll start in just a few minutes. Okay. Now I just want to be sure that everybody can hear me. So if somebody could maybe just drop a note in the questions box and just let me know that you can hear me. Okay. Thanks, Gareth. Okay, so good afternoon. I think we can kick it off now, and if more people join, that'll be great. So welcome everybody. I know that we've got people on the line who are Inbay customers, and I know we've got people on the line who are Storagecraft customers. So welcome to you both. So the idea behind these series of webinars is to have some conversations with people who've gone out there and done the job. They're what we call the MSP Trailblazers, and they've very sort of graciously willing to come on these calls and share their experiences. And as Chris, our first speaker, said, it's a warts and all view of what they've done in their business, and the idea is that hopefully you guys can get some inspiration from it. So the way the format is going to go is I've got a whole lot of questions here in front of me, but I think it will be far better for you guys to ask your questions. So as you think of questions or something dawns on you, just please, pop a question into the question box and Chris or I will pick it up. Okay. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our first MSP Trailblazer, and his name is Chris Ward, and Chris Ward is a director of Vermont Systems. So that's all I'm going to say about him, because I'm going to let him speak for himself. So first of all, good afternoon, Chris, and welcome to the call.
Good afternoon, Janet. Thank you for having me, and good to see everyone, speak to everyone on the call today. So just by way of introduction then, so like Janet said, my name is Chris Ward. I'm technical director here at Vermont Systems. So we're a managed service provider, as I guess you would call it. That's the lingo, the label that's been attached to us, based down here in Hampshire, just outside of Southampton. We're a business, I guess our speciality, or the way we like to frame it is that we find growing businesses in Hampshire who rely on IT but find that IT's become a burden rather than a benefit, and we turn that around for them. And I guess we found we work best with companies, businesses, or charities. We've got quite a few charities who have roughly between 20 to 80 computer users in the business.
Okay. So I suppose, Chris, to start off, how did it all start? How did you start the business? What's the history?
Yeah, so Vermont's been around since 1997. I joined the business, so I started my career at IBM as a techie, and with a degree in computer science. So that's sort of my background. I joined Vermont in 2007 when I got fed up of touring around the place doing projects for IBM and working all hours and that sort of thing, and wanted to work more locally, start a family, and came to work at Vermont as an account manager. Vermont at the time were smaller than we are now, so there's about 8 of us back then, and so I sort of cut my teeth changing from being someone who, bashed away at the keyboard getting the job done to someone who understood technology but was more looking at how the businesses could utilize that effectively, which was a big learning curve for me, coming from corporate down to sort of SME level, but it was great fun. Then in sort of, I suppose, to continue the story, 2008, the recession hit, and the guy, Vermont sort of got into financial trouble, and the guys that were running the business at the time, the people that had started it, I think they were getting on a bit didn't have the energy to reinvigorate, refocus, and sort of join the fight again. So the opportunity came up to take the business on, which was the classic, buy it for £1 and take the debts and that sort of thing. So that was 2009, and then we've worked hard to stabilise the business and grow it since then.
Okay. And I suppose, obviously a lot has happened since the 2009, but just, I suppose, to get a view of where you are today, from, 8 employees in 2007, and obviously not a very healthy balance sheet. What are you looking like today?
Yeah, so we did. I think that first year we took over in September 2008, and by the end of that year, I think the business we just about managed to turn over about £300,000. Sort of made some significant losses, but I'd managed to stay afloat, which really was touch and go that autumn of 2009 for us. And then sort of fast forward, we've grown. So we grew for about 5 years. We grew roughly about 20-25% each year from a revenue standpoint. So sort of took it up to about 1.5 million, and then we've been flat-ish for about 2 years now, and we've got about 15 grown adults in the business and a few apprentices at the moment. Is roughly what we look like.
Okay. And in terms of, I suppose, the sort of the structure of the business, or even the kinds of services that you're offering, has that changed significantly from 2007? And like in 2007, were you sort of a break-fix company, or were you an MSP at that stage, or how did you deliver your services?
Yeah, they were very much in the break fix world. Relied on that sort of monthly mountain to climb of overheads of whatever it was back then, and every month you started at close to zero, and you had to climb that mountain every month. And that was very stressful. And when we took the business on, I'd been looking with them anyway while I was just an employee there at transitioning across to a flat fee or a managed service model, or whatever you want to call it, and looking at the benefits of that. And so when we took the business on, we very quickly looked to transition across to that MSP model. And so we went out, we talked to the customers that Vermont had, and we used a strategy where we basically talked to them about what they liked about Vermont, and where they felt Vermont could do more, or where what they didn't like, and fortuitously or whatever, the story generally was that they really liked the people at Vermont. They like working with Vermont on a sort of day-to-day basis, but they felt they lacked proactivity. We lacked proactivity. We lacked, they said, we only ever talk to you when we've got a problem. You don't help us set budgets. You don't help us plan forwards. we'll get a phone call one day saying that the server's full and that we're gonna have to spend £10,000 to buy a new one because it's 5 years old and it's not worth and all that sort of stuff, and that was great, because that that just meant that we could say, well, look, if we can solve those problems, and it's going to be it's going to cost you in a different way, it's going to be a different way of paying for that, and then it may well cost you more money, but would you pay for that? And most people, a significant number of people said, yeah, if you could really deliver on that. And so we went off, put the package together much quicker than we anticipated. Actually, we thought we'd sort of take us 3 or 4 months to put something together and start rolling it out. But actually, customers were saying, no, we really need that. We need it now. So we started in September, and we had the first managed service customer on board, or converted by October, and then some more in November, December, and so I think we got close to. So our first objective was to cover the overheads with the monthly income, and we got to sort of 80% of that target. I think within about, I can't remember, it's really hard to remember thinking back now, but it's sort of within the 12 to 18 months we'd sort of broken the back of it, and the stress level disappeared, and relationships with the customers really improved, I think, because we were working with them in a different way.
Yeah. I presume, and I could be wrong, that you would have lost some customers in making that transition, that some weren't interested.
Yeah, funnily enough, we lost some customers when we first took over who were basically really unhappy already. They felt let down. They felt the service had been poor to some extent, or there'd been particular issues. And actually, it was when within the first 3 weeks we were there, the 3 largest customers all cancelled, purely because they just took the opportunity of change of management to say, right, yeah, let's make a change. The sort of history had gone, which was somewhat made things a lot more stressful than we'd anticipated. But most of the other ones, we didn't pressure anyone. The people that didn't want to convert straight away were happy to stay where they were. And actually, over time, there was people who took 3 years for them to move across. And even now, we've still got a few kicking around who, and we've done a couple of acquisitions along the way as well. So we've still got a few that are kicking around on that model, and something we haven't quite got to the point of sort of forcing one way or the other. And that point's probably arriving, but so long as they're profitable, then we've sort of tolerated them and kept them going if there's a good relationship there.
And when you came to sort of pricing up your managed service, did you bill by employee or per device, or how did you put your pricing sort of structure together?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I don't have an answer that's got lots of wisdom in it. I mean, we simply had to get that done really fast, put our offering together. So we figured, what's the quickest way of gaining a metric for how much we're going to charge for this? And we looked at devices and servers and counting all the bits and bytes and gigabytes, and we thought, it's going to be really complicated. We're going to have to do audits, and so we just went for users, and not. And I'm really glad we did now, because I think there's been tremendous benefits for us as people have moved away from on-premise equipment and moved to cloud services and all that sort of stuff. And our message to customers is, look, we support your people to get the best out of IT, as opposed to just managing the technology. So it's a different view on it, I think. But it wasn't, we didn't foresee that at the time. We just did it for pragmatic reasons. But certainly, I think if we had have done device pricing or something more complicated, I think we would now be moving across to per user pricing. Okay.
And in terms of kind of what your managed service offering looked like back in sort of 2008, 2009 to what it looks like today, has there been a significant change in kind of what you're offering or what the service is?
I mean, that's a good question, and I'll answer it in a slightly roundabout way. So I think back in the day, I think we had a really clear vision of we call it managed services, but I think that's a tag that the vendors in our industry have have used to describe us as and then people like me, we've ended up using that about ourselves, but I think it's actually an unhelpful title, because I don't think I really know what it means. And I think I like the term proactive, I think, better, and so we had a really good idea of what that meant and what the vision for that was, in terms of I mentioned it before, turning messy IT systems that aren't serving the needs of the business, and that might be because of downtime, it might be because they haven't got good systems in place to support the activities of the business, like good remote access for the sales force, good ways to access their data and turn it into information, whatever the things are they need. But you can only generate that through proactivity, and also around security, of course, which is the big thing at the moment. And I've got a thing around the IT support is not a solution to cybercrime. If you're phoning IT support because you've got a cybercrime problem, it's too late. It's got to be proactive. And I think we had a great view of that, how it would benefit us, how it would benefit the customers in terms of driving down the number of problems they were experiencing and driving up the value they were getting from their technology. And I think we started really well, actually, and we were very distinctive in our market down here. Most of the other people we were looking at, our competitors, didn't seem to be doing that or have that message. And to the people we were talking to, particularly prospects, that we were signing people up quite well, because we were, I think, more expensive than other people in of a similar size and shape to we were, but we had a distinctive message, and that worked well, and I think that fueled our growth in those early years, which was tremendous. And I think actually what happened was we took our eye off the ball a little bit, and as more and more people jumped onto the bandwagon, in a sense, that makes it sound like I invented it and it was our bandwagon to jump on. That's not true at all. We were picking up ideas from other early innovators, but more people were doing it, and so when we went out to meet a new prospect, we had a similar story, I think, about around monitoring, around around doing reviews and all this sort of stuff, and other people charging less for what looked like the same thing, and I think we got caught up in that, and got caught up in talking to people about support desk response times and things like that, which are important, and we do want to have great response times on our support desks. But actually, what we came back to, I think, was we sort of had a bit of soul searching over the last 2 years, and realised actually we never set out to run a company that had the fastest response times on support desk, or could deliver the service for the most economic value, or and we were dabbling with cloud, we were dabbling with hosting, we were dabbling with hardware as a service, sort of dabbling with all in VoIP and everything under the sun, to try and differentiate ourselves. And actually, when we spent a lot of time on this, and what we realized was we'd moved away from that original core vision that we had, which was to help SME businesses in Hampshire to get to turn IT from a burden into a benefit, and really help them maximize what they were getting out of it. So we revisited that and went through, and we actually simplified our offering a lot. We changed the way we delivered it a little bit, not hugely, but we tweaked it, but I think really we tweaked our marketing message and our sort of sales message back to that core element of what we did, and we put our prices up to allow us to sort of throw a little bit more in there as well, and that's actually proved to have been a tremendous decision to have made, and we started growing again. So we're really things are looking very promising. We've got a fantastic pipeline coming into this year, so that's a very long answer, Janet, and apologies for that. But I don't think so. We have changed, but I think as much as anything, we almost messed it up, and we had to sort of return to our roots and get back to basics.
And I think what you've done is extremely brave, because I think that I've met a lot of MSPs who complain because that they say that their services are almost becoming commoditized, and everybody is trying to sort of be cheaper than the other guy. whereas I think you have taken the view that, look, we are offering, a very premium service, and we're not afraid to charge for it. And I think you've done it, and obviously, the roof didn't cave in, or, the world didn't stop turning. But yes, your customers were happy to pay for it. So
yeah, and I think just to pick up on that actually, and I think that's something we went through, and we were thinking, people used to say, we're the Rolls Royce, and maybe they just need a Ford Mondeo or whatever. Whereas actually, what we'd done, and we didn't deliberately set out to make ourselves a premium offering. What we looked at was to say, what do we believe we need to do to deliver great IT to an SME business in Hampshire? And we laid that out. We sort of whiteboarded that out, and then we said, right, so we've got to do all that stuff. How much is that going to cost us to deliver all that stuff? And then we worked that out, and then we said, right, what are we going to sell it for? And so, in a sense, it's not, in my view, at least, or in our view, it's not that it's the Rolls Royce experience or a premium experience. It's just the experience people need, and that psychology was tremendously powerful for us when we realized, when we went back to that and said, this isn't an option, for us. It's not like, well, you could have break fix or you could have gold, silver, bronze. We don't have gold, silver, bronze, and the reason is because we've only got one way of delivering great IT. I can't deliver great IT on a bronze level. And so once we were crystal clear in our minds about that, I think that helped to make sure we were communicating that in a crystal clear fashion to people that we were meeting, rather than giving them a sort of mixed message of, well, you can have sort of great IT, or you can have quite great IT, or you can have a bit great IT, or you can have very great IT. It's, well, I only know one way of doing it, and this is the way.
Perfect answer. And it also kind of, touches on something else that, is like there's an advice to service providers out there that you need to kind of standardize in order to kind of be good at what you do. You need to standardize your stack. And is that something that you guys have done?
Yeah, we do 100%. We have a particular antivirus, particular security firewall, particular sort of hardware and software products that we use to deliver that. And again, we're not and that's not negotiable. So if a prospect says, hey, I've got licenses for this, or I bought that last year, can I keep using it? And then you discount the service a little bit, we say no, because it's not about the product and the particular benefits of the product. What we're delivering is, if you use our service, we will give you a great IT system that works really well. It's secure, the uptime's good, it's fit for purpose in terms of serving the needs of the business, and that we can only do that if we're using the tools that our guys know really well, that we know, the good, the bad, and the ugly of each of the different tools that we use. We've got great relationships with the vendors that we use, and that that's crucially important. So trying to use someone else's software that we don't know, it's crazy. We can't support it properly. We don't know it. We don't know the vendor. And so it's like the prospect or the customer would be saying effectively, hey, we want you to deliver great IT, but we want to tie one hand behind your back while you do it. Are you up for the challenge? And for many years, we were up for that challenge. We allowed customers to dictate terms, and and then we came back, and part of that sort of soul searching process, we thought, no, you know what, we're not going to have one hand tied behind our back anymore. We're going to, if we're going to be, and I suppose it's true to ourselves, if we're going to do it, let's do it the way we know how to do it. So yeah, 100%, we migrate everyone over. So, and if you buy a service from us, we bundle in, all of those sort of standard tools, just into part. So it's not optional, that you just get it.
Okay. I'm going to take it back to something you said a little bit earlier that kind of, I think that a lot of people's ears would have pricked up on, where you said that, business is really good and you've got a really good pipeline. That's everybody's dream, is to have that good pipeline. So how do you get a great pipeline?
Wow, that's a good question. And one that we really struggled with. We've tried everything, and it's all worked to some extent, and it's all not worked. What we've done recently is we've changed from that sort of scattergun approach, we've hired telesales people, we've hired marketing people, we've hired, we've done social media, we've done email blasts, we've done, and it all worked a little bit, but never consistently. And so what we did about 18 months ago was we decided that we would deliberately stop all the activities we were doing, and we wouldn't do any more. We'd done a few acquisitions, like I mentioned, just sort of buying up other local businesses that were struggling to get their customer base. And we'd stopped all of that, and we said, right, let's build a sales and marketing engine that repeatedly generates leads and repeatedly converts leads into revenue. And that was a huge learning experience for me, not coming from a sales or marketing background, and frankly, marketing, to me was a mixture of witchcraft and just outright lying. That was my sort of technical person's perception of it. And sales wasn't much better really. And and I also had this misconception of I could sell. If you get me in a room with a prospect that's on fire, oh yeah, I can sell him, no problem. I can tell him how fantastic we are, and and he'll come over and sign a contract with us. And that tends to be the case. If you've got a prospect that's called you because they're on fire, and you go in, and generally they'll be like, yeah, if I'm on fire now, so if you can help, you're in. And but that's not selling, and that's what I realized is, that's not selling. And so we spent a lot of time, spent a lot of energy and money as well with people to understand how this all works. And we're building a set of processes, a set of activities that are generating leads for us through different methods. So we obviously worked hard on our website, things like AdWords and other paid search. We do direct mail campaigns, so actually printing letters and things and stuffing them in packages or envelopes and mailing them out, and then following that up with telephone calls, and we've done educational seminars, or we do educational seminars, particularly around cybercrime at the moment. That works really well, working with the local police force and other organisations. So we do an awful lot of activities to raise our profile in the area, and specifically, and we try to make everything we do have a response and a way for people to respond to us and take us up on the services or a particular offer that we might have, or a promotion to help people to get interested. So we've got tons of stuff going on from that point of view now, but that didn't happen overnight. That's happened over like I said, an 18-month period. And so we went, and just to sort of give a statistic, so in 2015 we didn't really count our leads very accurately, but I think we, in terms of qualified leads, as in qualified meaning an inquiry from a business that we wanted to work with, I think that would be less than 20 in the whole year. Whereas in 2016, the year just gone, that was 94. So that was 94 inquiries from businesses who were interested in our services that we wanted to do business with, which was tremendous. And then it's about then having a process to, like I said, to convert that from leads into revenue, and having a reliable sales process, rather than it just relying on sort of my genius or whatever, or my so-called genius that I like to believe is true about myself on my good days. It's a process that's repeatable, and so that's a long answer. So I've got there's no magic secret that I could give to anyone in terms of how to do it, other than there's no reason that if I've learned it, anyone can learn it. But you've got to make it a concerted effort and if you can run a support desk, if you can run projects, it's just the same. It's just processes, it's activities, and it's, you work out, how you measure those to see how effective they are. And so if you can run a successful support desk or a project, or, I firmly believe you can figure it out and do it as well.
Okay. Well, no, as a marketing person, I have to concur with everything you said, and that I think a lot of people do think, oh well, I've done an email campaign and nothing's happened, and it is, as you say, it is a consistent, it's a consistent effort, and it has to be done.
Yeah. In fact, actually, just another stat on that. So we just fantastically we just signed a new customer up today, a nice managed service customer, and we'll actually just look back. Our marketing assistant looked back today, and she counted up that we'd had 33 marketing touches with that business.
Wow.
In the last 9 months. That's brought them to this point. So doing it once and then giving up is literally a waste of time. So if you've only got enough time or money to do it once, like, don't do it. Pick, this is what we learn, is to just, get a small group of people and market to them consistently, rather than getting a list of 1,000 or 2,000 or whatever, and just pumping out one thing to them and hoping for the best.
Okay, so I've got a kind of a long-winded question, or it's maybe a question with several parts, and it's around kind of, customers, and how many customers do you have? Is there an optimum number of customers? And, obviously you sign a new customer and they're very attractive. Do you then need to maybe sort of, kick somebody off at the other end who's maybe, delivering less to the business? Or, in your business, can you cope with, have you capacity to deal with a lot more?
Yeah, again, that's great, John. That's a really insightful question, and I think for many years we believed we could, be everything to everyone, and we could bring on new customers at one end and keep the ones at the other end and have everything, and it became abundantly clear to us, I think, as we really analysed the income we had from different customers, and the time and the resources we had to put into servicing each different customer, and also the different levels of expectations that different sorts of customers have. So and that it's not as simple as this, but larger businesses generally have different expectations than smaller businesses about how you're going to go about doing things. And a classic example that keeps coming up is that larger businesses, a smaller business will just phone up and say, hey, we need this changing, can you do it? And they just expect you to do it. They don't want any sort of change process. They don't want any authorization. They just get it done. Whereas a larger business is horrified if you don't have some sort of process for making sure that the changes you're making have been authorized correctly, and planned through and whatnot. So, you can't do both of those things at once and allow your support techs or the techs doing the work to stay sane and sort of know, which way they're coming from. So we've definitely learned the hard way, and that's been very expensive for us. I personally would have made a lot more money if I'd have learned that lesson a lot earlier. So knowing what you do and who you do it for is the way to do it, and that definitely applies then to, as you bring on, you sort of, once you figured out who it is you want to serve, then you go for it and you bring on as many of those customers at the right price as you possibly can. And anyone who doesn't fit the bill, whether it's because they're too small or actually because they're too big, then you look to move them on. If they can't be, sort of changed in some way. Some people are the right size, right shape, they're just not paying enough. That's our experience, and they can be convinced to pay more money to get the results that they're after. But if they're just, for us, there are cases where they're just plain too small, and we can't do anything to help them, because so we've had to do something about that. Okay.
And in terms of your search for new business, do you stay within your geographical area, or do you go further, or what's your view of that?
Sorry, can you repeat that question? Sorry, there's a little bit of crackle on the line there.
Okay, I was saying in terms of looking for new business, you're obviously in Hampshire. Do you stay within that geographical area, or do you look outside it, or what's your view?
Yeah, so we used to take business from anywhere, and we used to see the whole of the south of England as our patch, because why not? It's a bigger pot's got to be better, right? And we do have historic customers that stretch, from Hertfordshire across to Bristol. But no, now we 100% market into Hampshire, and until we feel like we've exhausted our target customer base in that geography, then that's what we're going to stick to, and I'm pretty sure we're quite a long way off doing that.
Okay. And in terms of, because a lot of I suppose a lot of service providers are kind of making that decision between either specializing in certain areas or going wide and trying to sort of, cover as much of the new technologies as possible. Have you sort of nailed your colours to the mast and saying we're specializing in one area, or, what's your view?
Do you mean like adding additional services like, telephony or
Yeah.
that sort of thing? Yeah, so God, Janet, you're asking all the questions that bring out all the mistakes that I've ever made. So, we've dabbled in all that stuff, and we've done at least 4 times where we've had a crack at it. Disaster recovery services. We deliver those to our customers, and we've looked at marketing those more widely as sort of a standalone service. We've dabbled with setting up our own hosting services in a data center. We've done all of that, and actually we've realised that and the last one we tried was putting together like a sort of standalone security service, and I think that we realised that it's not to say there's not room for doing all of that, and we definitely want to still do additional services like that, but for us, we were trying to patch up the fact that we weren't doing as well as we wanted to do in our core business by adding in other lines of revenue. And the lesson that we learned, again, the hard way, is that we've got to have your core business has got to be, really good before you go diversifying into other stuff. And that's been huge for us. And someone taught me that every time you start something and don't finish it, that's 100% wasted time. And the number of times we've started, putting together a new service and haven't really finished it properly, or haven't really then rolled it out as aggressively as we possibly can do, is far too many times we've done that. And so what we've done is for the current point in time, we've said we're not going to do it. We're very much focusing on that core business, that proactive IT service, helping people get the most out of their technology. Once we feel really, really happy with that, then we'll go back to adding on other services that are complementary and represent good, profitable lines of business for us.
Okay. So, obviously, since, going, from, those early days, 2008, 2009, right up to now, you've grown the business very significantly, and, it's grown in revenue and grown in profitability. What do you think were sort of the key things that made that happen? If you had to say, what are the 3 things that you would sort of attribute your success to? And maybe 3 isn't a good number, but... Yeah,
no, it's good. I think one is having a vision, that was what we wanted to do. We wanted to grow a business into looking, like a certain size, certain shape. And I'll, be honest that size and shape does change and evolve over time. But, I have made a lot of mistakes over the years, but I think one of the things that I got right was that I couldn't do it all by myself. And that I would need to get people in who were better at a specific thing than I am. So, for example, managing the support desk or doing the marketing, the different aspects of what we do. I could maybe start it, I could maybe, pioneer it a little bit. But in each case, bringing in people who complemented my skills, and I was really happy and I know I've spoken to other people, and they find it very difficult to hire people that are better than they are. And fortunately, I've never had that problem, and I love hiring people that are better at things than me. And so we've deliberately gone about building a team, and we've deliberately gone about building a culture here where people know they're coming into something that's we're trying to go somewhere, we're trying to build something, and I think people that have a similar mindset have come in and really thrived, and I'm struggling to think that nearly everyone I've ever hired or that we have acquired along the way is now being paid more money and is has more responsibility than when they started with us. And that's the way I want it to be, you know, that people can grow with us, so we're being successful as a team. So I think that's the first thing. The second thing is the second thing is having a focus on customers and what they want, and what they need in their business to be successful. And I guess I want to caveat that to say that whilst you focus on what the customer needs, that's not the same thing as the customer's always right. Yeah, and focusing on being too responsive to customers or just doing everything that they say is actually really bad. And again, someone taught me, and I'm so grateful to the community that we're part of here. There's so many great people that have taught me an awful lot. Is that, you know, business owners, customers aren't qualified to make IT decisions. Yes, so often we expect them to make the IT decision, or we let them make the IT decision. You know, they're not qualified. They don't know what the best thing for them is from an IT standpoint. So, so when I say giving people what they need, that's what they need. They need good advice, for example, and that's different from, you know, they think they want X and you sell them X, despite the fact that you sort of believe they should have Y. But staying close to your customers, making time and building in time. And we did this, we built it into our contracts that we'll go and see them once a quarter, so that we're very close to them and we know what they need, we know what their business challenges are, and we're constantly thinking, all right, how do we help them with that? How do we help them with that? How do we help them with that? We might not have an answer right now, but if enough people are asking for it and experiencing it challenging, then we'll put significant effort into solving that problem for them. And I think that's the third thing is you know, being part of the community of businesses like us, you know, the peer community or whatever we want to call it. You know, meeting other business owners, business leaders that are running businesses just like mine, and also, you know, vendors that we've been able to get to know really well. Is that, you know, that has been tremendous in terms of, you know, going from, you know, I'd never done this before. I didn't know what I was doing. You know, I thought I could do it. You know, you've got a sort of core belief in yourself, but you know, the wisdom that I've picked up from other people, other business owners that I know, who have been so generous with their time and with their experience, you know, pointing me in the right direction, helping me out with stuff. And, you know, and I'd probably say that every product we use in this business, and every initiative, every idea, every strategy that we're using is not our own ideas. It's a melting pot of all the stuff that we've picked up from other people. And so getting involved with groups, with organizations who you know, who form that network, I think has been definitely the you know, the third tenet of our success. Yeah.
And Chris, maybe just even if you name those communities and organisations, you know.
Yeah, sure. So for me, that's been the first one that I got involved with was the Thames Valley SBSC group that meet up in Reading once a month. People, if afterwards, if they want to know more about that, you know, reach out to me. You know, Janet will put you in touch. And I'm very happy to share more with you. And that's a group of peer, a peer group, you know, business owners, business leaders of businesses just like ours, that meet up in Reading once a month on a Thursday evening. And that was like revolutionary for me when I met that bunch of guys, and that opened the door to a lot of other stuff. And CompTIA, the UK channel community as part of CompTIA is tremendous, and most of us just know CompTIA for the training that they do or provide, but the community group, which is really the heart of it, is tremendous, and getting involved in those meetings that they run 3 times a year, and the other resources has been brilliant. And then some of the vendors, you know, Storagecraft and Inbay on the you know, you guys have you know, been tremendous, and there's other really good ones as well who run brilliant. So Autotask, or an Autotask customer, and they run some great community events as well, to get to know other people. So I think those would be the ones that we found most benefit from.
Okay. Actually, Chris, there's a question here from Gareth, and he's calling you on something you said earlier. He said, how do you inform a customer that he or she is not qualified to make an IT decision?
How do you call it? Yeah, I mean, in terms of the exact language I'd use, that's tricky, and you've got to, you got to work it on what you feel you can get away with in the meeting that you're in. But I don't think it's rude to say it. And I suppose I'll caveat it a little bit. I guess if you're working with a technical IT manager, then it's going to be even more difficult or even more potentially challenging to do this. But the bottom line is, if people are paying for my services, then, and all they want from me is me to supply a particular product and install it for them, then that's fine, and you can make money doing that. But I find that's pretty low dollar work. Whereas the high value customers that I've got are ones that trust me, and actually what they're paying me for is our expertise, our wisdom, our experience over time to guide them, to help them set IT strategy. So if you think of it as a pyramid almost, with just simple technical services at the bottom, MSP, sort of monitoring, management, daily tasks, that sort of level, the next level up. And then, you go up, and then you've got, a strategy, budget setting, those sort of, and helping with business problems at the top of that stack. Then, the money you'll get paid goes up as you go up that stack. And the customer engagement, the customer loyalty, also goes up. So what I tend to find is, if I'm having a conversation with a customer who's, if it's a customer that we've worked with over the years, and they aren't happy for me to remind them that they're not as qualified as I am to make an IT decision, then I've got a relationship problem, and they don't see the value in me. Now, I'll be very clear. So that's different from making a business decision. So they are qualified to make a business decision, and it may be that once I've said, "Hey, look, you need to do this. You need to make this change. You're vulnerable. Your security's open at the moment. You need to do this." If they say, "I totally understand, Chris. Right now we haven't got the budget, but I get what you're saying, and we're going to put budget in for that next year, and that's the best we can." That's the business. That's a business decision, and they are qualified to make business decisions. Whereas if they're just fighting with you about whether something needs doing or not, then that's what I'm pushing back against.
Okay. I suppose, Chris, we've been talking about the past, and now I guess it's with an eye to the future. What, I suppose, are the biggest challenges you face, or what do you think, just the service industry faces? What keeps you awake at night?
Wow, God, that's a question for you. Well, I think that the external threats from, there's obviously some big providers moving into the space. Telecoms want a piece of the IT market. People have traditionally done those sorts of, slightly more transactional technology services, now can come in and sell Office 365 and that sort of thing. And I'm pretty sure they're going to eat up a slice of the market. It doesn't keep me up at night particularly, because I'm confident that they can't do what we do, which is something a little bit different. And I know already that out of the businesses I've selected as being our target market in Hampshire, the vast majority are not going to hire us because they either don't need us or they don't think they need us. And so there's a lot of space for a lot of other players to play in without squeezing me out. I think because we're very clear on what we do, and I don't see that going away. I think people are in a time of flux, in a time of change, and we're definitely in a time of flux and change at the moment from in the IT world or in the technology world. There's more change happening now than there was 10 years ago. There's more questions. What should my strategy be? Should I use cloud? How can I use connected devices, Internet of Things, or whatever? How can that be of importance of a business? This sort of big data stuff around turning data into information, into business decision making assistance. There's just so, and security. How do we keep safe? Whilst I'm using all this technology, people need more help, not less, to run the technology in their businesses and get the most out of it. So from our point of view, that's what we do, is to help them get the most out of the technology, whether that's good old-fashioned, on-premise servers and legacy line of business applications, or whether they're using predominantly cloud services. It doesn't matter to us, because we'll help them with that, and we'll install it, and we'll help them get the most out of it. We'll configure it, but helping them set the strategy, budget, and solving business problems is what we do. So I think in terms of the challenges, it's to keep retraining or acquiring the skills into the company that we need, sort of keeping the staff learning and evolving in what they're doing, so that they, just the same as, we all get together as business owners and talk about the difference between being the IT guy through to being the trusted advisor. That applies to our staff as well. Their jobs are changing. So we need people who are keen, who want to keep learning, who want to keep progressing. So I think that's the area for me is around staff and developing the right skills or attracting the right skills, and keeping the vision of the company on track as to what we're doing, rather than worrying about external threats. And that might be slightly arrogant, and I might be proved wrong. And so if you don't hear from me in the next few years, then I was wrong. But that's how I see it.
Okay. Adam has come in with a question. He says, have you any tips on converting a relationship that doesn't have that level of trust? He says most of our customers do, and it's very important, but suggestions on winning them back into a trust zone will be great.
So what I do is, when it's got to a point where, and I'm like any bloke probably, I think I can solve it, until I can't, if you know what I mean. And when I get to the point where I'm at my wit's end, then, what I do, and I should do this a lot earlier, but what I do is I say, look, let's get together, take them out for lunch, or go down to their office, or, whatever. And I just try and have a really open conversation with them. If that can be a business owner to business owner conversation, that's the best place for it. And because, I'm just a business owner trying to make my way in the world, and so are they. And we offer a particular service, and if we've got a mismatch, then we're wrong for each other. That fundamentally we're better off without each other. If actually we've just got a disconnect, so somehow for whatever reason we've just miscommunicated with each other, and that can happen for loads of reasons. And we've got a customer at the moment who have had they're a VC-backed technology company that we've been working with for a couple of years, and so they're getting new people in all the time at a senior level. So, and every time that happens, we've started to realize that we run into a relationship problem, because they don't see, and what we've realized is we've got to go back in and resell to them and help them to understand what it is we do, how we do it, how all the stuff we do in the sort of sales process or in the onboarding process. We've got to redo that to make sure they understand what we do. But I think that honest conversation is the key to it, because if generally in my experience, when I've had that conversation, it's gone better. So, it's transformed overnight almost after that conversation. For the positive, because they see what we do, they see what we're trying to do, and they realize, I need that. And you're right, you guys do know this better than me, and I do want to stop tinkering with the IT, and I do want to crack on with running my business and doing all the strategic stuff I need to be doing, and that really helps. And every now and again you get one and they say, I just don't need what you guys offer. That's the problem here. And we shake hands and off they go to find someone else that's going to work better for them. But trying to, not confronting it is like, and that goes for, we all know that goes for any relationship situation where it's not working 100%. The best thing is to sit down and talk about it and resolve it, not just brush it under the carpet.
So couples counselling for your service provider.
There you go. Yeah, we look after the whole situation here.
Okay, we're running out of time a little bit, but we've got a couple more questions. So Gareth is saying, how much selling or looking for sales opportunities do your techies do? Are they expected to do this, and if so, are they compensated?
No, they are not compensated. They look for sales opportunities within. So we only deal with customers that are on a managed service contract with us. So if there's, if they spot a problem in a particular customer or an area where that customer needs something, they can flag that through and we'll get that done. But we don't. I don't think technical people are motivated financially. They're motivated by having a job that they enjoy doing, where they feel they can make a difference in the world. So we try and align what they get out of the job to those things rather than financial rewards.
Okay. Another question from Michael. He says, can I ask Chris what his product stack is like? What RMM and PSA do they use? What AV, BDR, etc. do they recommend to clients? Thanks.
Well, for what it's worth, we use Autotask, SolarWinds MSP. We use Storagecraft for our backup and disaster recovery. We use Logic now for our antivirus at the moment, but we're looking at the Sophos stack at the moment to move that across to, and it's the same for firewalls. We were a CyberOhm customer, but we're now moving across to Sophos. Can't remember the other things that he said. We're an HP shop, but the tools are irrelevant, and that's the thing I'd say. Use tools that work for you guys, that work well for what you're trying to do. There's a myriad of, I'm sure ConnectWise is fantastic. I've got no intention of changing just because Autotask's fine, and the cost of changing is huge. So there's no point in faffing around with that sort of stuff. Use products that allow you to deliver the service that you want to deliver. Is the thing to do.
The tools are irrelevant except Storagecraft, of course.
That is the only one that I would trust for my backup and disaster recovery. They are fantastic. But but that said, on that front, Janet, and being really honest and open as I always am, it is a great product. But the relationship we've got with you guys is equally important, and I think we miss that as technical people. We look for great technical products, and we forget to evaluate. And we don't really, to be honest, I never knew how to evaluate a relationship with a vendor. And people working with people like you, Janet, and the team at Storagecraft have sort of taught me what's important in a vendor. And so you got to look at that sort of stuff as well.
All right. Thank you very much, Chris. There's one more question from Gareth, but we're very tight on time, so a kind of a condensed answer, Chris. Gareth says that you've hinted at being a VCIO for a few clients. He says, how do you achieve this without, in respect to almost sitting on the board of a client's business?
So we tend to, we 100% run what a lot of people call a VCIO process. We don't use the term VCIO, but a lot of people would do. We have a relationship with some senior person in that business. And we don't manage to get this right all the time, but what we try to do is have that VCIO relationship with a senior person, whether it's the owner or the finance, someone who does sit on the board. And we work with them on setting IT strategy. So we don't attend board meetings, and we've not been invited to. It'd be great to get involved in that sort of thing. But we so we set budget, we set strategy at that level. Then we also have another role in the business that's dealing, and they go in and do regular visits as well for to do proactive tasks. Who is building a relationship sort of at the user level and to an extent at the user level, but actually at sort of what we call point of contact level, which is often like an office manager or someone at that level as well. So that's how we do it.
Okay. We're just winding down. Before we do, I'm going to invite Scott Tyson to join us on the call. And Scott, as all of the Inbay people on the call will know, Scott is Sales Director for Inbay. So I'm just going to ask Scott to just tell you very briefly a little bit about Inbay. So Scott, are you there?
I am, Janet. Thank you, and Chris, what an insightful story on Vermont Systems. Fantastic, actually, and I'm sure everyone on the call got a lot out of it. So, Great one. I know we're stretched for time, Janet, and I know we've got the next instalment of this webinar next week, so we can go into this a little bit deeper. I can give a very quick 30, 60-second overview of who Inbay are, and we can, as I said, we can go into it a bit deeper. Inbay, just in a very quick sense, is an organisation that was founded in 2002. We were formerly an MSP ourselves, so I guess from that state, going from an MSP to a vendor, we know where the bodies are buried, if you will, and a lot of our partners call us the MSP for MSPs. So I guess we can ask Eric about that a little next week, who's going to be on the call. We are an organisation that offers white label NOC service desk and project services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, to help MSPs help grow their business. It's effectively pretty much like that. We have our technical delivery center in Colombo in Sri Lanka, but we are a UK organization. We are based here in London. But going from an MSP into becoming a vendor, we set up our own service desk, NOC, and so forth, and we had a lot of people knocking on our door asking if we could offer those services. So in 2013, we decided to get rid of the MSP, sell the MSP, and focus on becoming a channel-only vendor offering these services. So we are a global organization selling into the North America, UK, Northern European, so English-speaking European markets, and Australia, New Zealand, and with the growth of MSPs, and very similar to Chris and Vermont, the growth of MSPs and successful MSPs has made Inbay a massive growth story for 2016 with triple-digit growth. So we're in a very exciting period of our time. As I said, this is what we do. We offer white label NOC service desk and project services on an international basis. So some of the questions and a lot of MSPs come up and ask this, why should I use Inbay? We do all these things that help organizations grow, and Janet, we can drill down into them a lot deeper next week.
Yeah. And I think, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no. That's pretty much my 90-second or 2-minute pitch. So I'm conscious of time. So do you want to do your bit, and then I can introduce Eric.
Okay, and like Scott said, we have a lot of time next week to cover this. But for those of you who don't know Storagecraft, I mean, this is who we are. We're disaster recovery, business continuity solutions is what we do. We're a US-based company. We've got 11,000 partners worldwide. We're purely a channel partner only. So why we think it's interesting to you guys is because disaster recovery service is a market that's growing, and it's growing exponentially, and we think this offers a huge opportunity to MSPs. We talk about that as for an MSP it could be up to £1 million revenue a year if it's done correctly. And not alone high revenue, but obviously high margin. So that's kind of the reason that we think this is interesting to you. We cover obviously the full sort of landscape of physical, virtual, and everything in between. And this is Chris again. So before we wind down, I just want to let Scott introduce next week's caller. So Scott, over to you.
Yeah, thanks, Janet. So next week we're going to be speaking to Eric Rockwell, who's the president and co-founder of Centrix IT. And Centrix IT is an Inbay partner based in San Diego in the US. They're a hugely successful, award-winning IT service provider in that region. They're a 40-strong organization. They continuously expand their customer base in that Southern Californian region. We're gonna go a bit deeper into how he's grown his business and become a very successful organization.
Okay, we're looking forward to it. So finally, it just remains to say, Chris, thank you very much for that great sharing of your sort of the company history. Obviously your candor is so much appreciated. I know you told me that your details are there on the screen, and you're quite happy if anybody wants to sort of contact you directly. I know you're always very generous with your time. So
yeah, really
thank
happy.
you.
If anyone wants to reach out and follow up on anything specific, then more than happy to do that.
Okay, all right. So it just remains for me to thank you all for joining us. So we've gone a little bit over time, but I think it was time well spent. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your day. Okay.